God wants to draw our attention towards these itty-bitty little creatures that can teach us something. And biologists were astonished, and they spoke about, okay, well, what is the next step of evolution after that? Many of them have spoken about how the next step of evolution is what takes place in societies of independent organisms, right? Or seemingly independent organisms, such as the ants or the bees. The ants and the bees, they're not glued together like clusters of cells are, right? Where they're stuck together as one organism. They're seemingly independent organisms, but yet they behave as a superorganism. All of the ants of one colony or all of the bees of one hive, they behave as one entity, collectively all cooperating in the same way that cells do within one colony or one hive to achieve one purpose, and that is the success of the entire colony or the hive. And that is fascinating, especially when we look to the narrations of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad alayhi salam, and we see that the bee colonies or the beehives are led by a queen bee. The colony of ants is led by a queen ant. And we find that in the stories of the prophets and the messengers, and in the Quran specifically, we have two surahs. One of them is named after the ants, and one of them is named after the bees. So obviously, God wants us to pay attention to these two creatures. Obviously, mankind in all of its might and glory, right, and its advancement, God wants to draw our attention towards these itty-bitty little creatures that can teach us something. And then we find stories where, for example, the Prophet Solomon alayhi salam, in Jewish traditions and also in Muslim traditions, he is moving with his army, and all of a sudden he hears the voice of an ant, and he learns a profound lesson in wisdom from an ant. And so obviously we have, if the Prophet himself can learn from the ants, then we're required also to look and see and examine what's going on with the ants, because there's something that we need to learn.